Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Me, 16, just dropped out of college. Really needed a job, otherwise parents would kick me out. Live in the middle of nowhere high up north, so couldn't just apply at McDonald's or some shit. Dad asks any of his friends if they have work or know someone who does. One dude, lives even further away from any civilization, says he knows a guy who could use some help. The guy owns all sort of cattle, from cows to domesticated deer, you name it, he probably owns some. It's in the middle of summer, so all of his animals are out on the fields around a mountain he owns land on. It's a pretty normal practice for farmers here. They fence up massive areas and basically let their livestock roam free within to their liking. Usually they'll check up on them every day or hire someone to look after them on the spot. Apparently this year he underestimated his workload and spread his livestock out far too much. That's where I would come in. I would have to live in a little cabin in the middle of nowhere and check up on the surrounding animals every day, fix broken drinking troughs and clean up the paths leading through the woods. Cabin was about 3 hours away from the nearest village, 6 hours by foot. Food would be brought to me every week on Friday and I was free to do as I pleased when done with my work. Pay wasn't half bad and it was only for 3 months, so I thought fuck it, why not? Met up with guy, younger man, probably early 30s, seemed kind of on edge but chill, figured he was just stressed out. Gave me some more details about the job, like how the electricity in the cabin worked. Solar panel. Mentioned how there was a lot of wildlife and how I shouldn't get scared when I hear weird noises in the distance. Okay buddy.jpg. Aside from the occasional wolf being in the area, there wasn't too much to be afraid of. Bears hadn't been sighted in years and there weren't any psycho deer. I would get paid to just relax in a nice cabin in the middle of nowhere while doing minimal work. Too good to be true.png. Took the job regardless, didn't have much choice. Start the next week and get picked up by the guy, now my boss. Drive up sketchy mountain paths through forests further and further away from civilization. Scenery is fucking beautiful, untouched nature, birds chirping, comfortable temperature. Feels good, man. Get to the end of the road, need to hike up 30 more minutes to get to the cabin. Nothing seems or feels out of place, literally feels like I'm on vacation. Grab my backpack and follow my boss up the path. Cabin is about 6,500 feet above sea level, beautiful view of the valley we drove through, pick related, it's the cabin. It's in the middle of a small clearing, even has a creek next to it for fresh drinking water. Boss shows me how to use everything, from the fire stove to the water boiler. I won't bore you with the details. Cabin is solar powered, so I have to watch the battery. Didn't plan on using much tech anyway, so don't worry about it, will be important later. Says that if anything happens I should give him a call, doesn't matter what time it is. Puts a lot of emphasis on the last part. Phone actually has signal, not much but enough to make calls. Explains one more time what I have to do and hands me a map with all the paths I should check. Also includes specially marked areas where the cows I'm supposed to look after oftentimes graze. Leaves, says he'll be on the other side of the mountain looking after his yaks or some shit. Wishes me a pleasant stay and leaves. Finally alone.jej. Don't have much to do the first day and it's past noon, so I just set up my sleeping stuff, put my food in the cupboards and of course jerk off. Nothing much happened the first few days. I simply repaired holes in the fences, cleaned shit like branches and rocks off of the hiking paths and looked around the grazing spots to see how the cows were doing. Week 3 rolls around. Nothing special had happened up to this point. Be on my usual routine checkup of one of the hiking paths. Dead deer lies on the path. It's in a pretty uncomfortable part of the woods, couldn't really put my finger on it even at the time. The place just felt off. Pick related, it's the woods. Was usually covered in shadow since a nearby mountain would block sunlight, so it always had this gloomy atmosphere. Of course it'd find a dead deer specifically here. Deer didn't seem to have been killed by anything or anyone. No flesh wounds, no blood, nothing looked broken. Its neck was weird though. Not snapped but kind of long. I'm pretty sure it wasn't broken though, just unnaturally long. Didn't make a pic of it. You'd see dead animals here all the time, especially in winter, so it wasn't all that special. Couple days go by without anything special, and then the howling starts at night. Now for those who don't know, in mating season stags roar to attract females. Look it up on YouTube if you want to know what it sounds like. It's insanely loud, and from a distance it can sound pretty eerie as the echo distorts it. But mating season here is in late August to September, it's early July. Sounds like someone exhaling really loudly, almost like wind but just a tad bit too vocal. Hard to explain. It was windy a couple times and it sounded nothing like it. Think nothing of it. Mention it to my boss though that Friday when he delivers me my food rations for the week. Says it's normal, just the wind blowing through the trees. Does mention the fact that there's a hunting rifle left behind by hunters for hunting season in one of the cupboards. Kind of weird how he'd tell me that only now, after I mention the howling. Boss seems on edge again, looks from left to right a lot, from one end of the clearing to the other. Ask him if he's okay and he simply says he just a bit exhausted from carrying my supplies up the mountain. Week 5. Doing my daily routines. Howling in the distance still occurs every once in a while, always at night. I'm not too bothered by it, after all there's tons of wildlife around, any of which could potentially make sounds like that. Echo plus wind probably just distorting it. Find more dead animals on and off paths. Small birds, foxes and another deer. All of them without any sort of visible wounds or blood. All of them having some body part look off in some way. Necks, legs, their skulls seeming just a bit too long. Again, can't really put my finger on what it is that feels off about them. It's as if someone opened paint, pasted an image in and slightly stretched a body part. Enough to be noticeable but just too little to really stand out. This goes on for a while until week 8. At this point only have 2 more weeks left to go. Boss still seems on edge every time he comes by. Always asks if the cows are fine, without saying hello whenever he shows up. Cows were always fine up to this point, even their calves, none went missing and none looked hurt. Literally the next evening hear the cows in clear distress in the distance. Think one of the is just trying to regain a rank or something in the herd, so it charged at another cow. Cows are pretty competitive in their herd, they're always trying to gain a rank or lower another cow's rank. They fight sometimes even to the death, they can be pretty brutal. Decide to just continue sleeping for the night and check it out the next day. Sleep with earbuds in, I know, terrible idea in hindsight. Next day wake up to bells of the cows outside. All the cows are surrounding my cabin, just kind of standing around, not eating, which is very unusual. I count them as I always do and notice that 1 cow and 1 calf are missing. Call my boss and tell him what happened. He really sounds distressed now and just tells me to look for them. He says he can't come right now as he can't leave his post or something pick related, cabin at night. Look for the missing animals but find them nowhere. Have to cut search short though as the weather starts to worsen. Cows stay around cabin that night, makes me feel a little safer. Still decide take hunting rifle out of cabinet and put wood cutting axe near entrance. Not a commando, so no clue what model it was. Lol. That night I noticed something weird. There's tiny red lights in the distance. But it's stormy and cloudy, the fog wouldn't allow for light to come this close. There's nothing but wilderness in that direction, so it can't be from a village or a car. Light just stays there. Pick related, it's the best pick of the light I managed to make. I nope hard and close all the blinds. The light fucking turns off, leaving me in complete darkness. Check the battery next to my bed. It's empty. It was almost full a couple hours ago. This thing lasts for multiple days when it's only used to lights and short showers. Nope, even harder. Use phone flashlight to look for candles and matches. Howling returns, slightly louder than usually. Literally sounds like there's whispers within the sounds, barely audible. Lock both the locks on the door and listen to music on my phone all night to keep distracted. Eventually pass out and wake up the next morning. Storm has cleared. Cows are still there, but 2 more of them are missing. Kind of losing my shit at this point. Call boss, tell him what happened. Tells me I have to leave right now and he'll come pick me up at the end of the road. That's where it ends. Don't really know what happened. Boss didn't talk much on the way down roads, was pale as F. I was too most likely. Didn't feel like talking either. Actually met him at a bar a couple months later. Apparently, he had sold everything and now focused on beer brewing or something. I asked him about the red lights and he simply nervously chuckled and said it was probably lights on top of power masts to keep planes from crashing into them. There was no power lines anywhere near that place.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.